After paying $62,000 in bills over 5 years, my parents gave everything to my jobless brother. So I let them lose the house. My name is Jake, and any questions I had about my place in my family were eradicated the day I learned about the will. It wasn't even a dramatic sit-down in which my parents revealed the news. I found out completely by chance, by pure stupid luck. It happened a few months back when I was at their house, which I had been helping them pay for the previous 5 years. The mortgage, the occasional shopping run, even little repairs around the house. I was the one who kept everything together while my brother Eric did nothing. And when I say nothing, I actually mean nothing. No employment, no obligations, just sitting about waiting for life to throw him everything on a silver platter. Which evidently my folks were only too delighted to offer. That day I was assisting my father with some paperwork because, as usual, neither of them could be bothered to figure out how to do things for themselves. He had asked me to scan some documents for him, a slew of legal and financial paperwork, and I didn't think twice about it until I saw it. A folder entitled Estate Plan and Last Will and Testament sitting right there in the stack. I don't usually snoop, but curiosity got the better of me. After all, I had been the one to ensure they had a roof over their heads. It wasn't out of the ordinary to ponder how things were set up for the future. So I opened it and saw the words that made my stomach plummet. Everything, and I mean everything, was going to Eric. The house, their savings, and their property. There was no mention of me except from some generic remarks about how much they loved both of their sons. Yeah. Sure. Equally. That is why they ensured that their golden child would inherit everything, while the son who kept them afloat received only a footnote. I felt foolish. Here I was bending over backwards for them, ensuring that their bills were paid on time and that they never had to worry about food, while they sat back and prepared for a future in which I received nothing. And Eric? He wasn't simply lazy. He was entitled. He never raised a finger to assist them, never donated a dollar, yet he had somehow persuaded them that he deserved everything. Perhaps because he was the younger son. Perhaps because they have always babied him. Perhaps he understood just how to influence them. Whatever the reason, they'd made their decision. I sat there staring at the page, shivering with wrath and betrayal. How long did they plan this? Had they always planned for me to be their free financial safety net, offering nothing in return? Have they ever appreciated what I accomplished for them? I had no idea how long I'd been sitting there, but my father eventually realized that I wasn't scanning anything. "Hey Jake, what is taking so long?" he inquired, stepping back into the room. I didn't even bother hiding the will. I raised it up and looked him in the eyes. "So this is how it is," I explained, my voice unnervingly calm. "Everything to Eric after all I've done for you?" My father's face turned pale for a moment, then he sighed like if I were a small child throwing a tantrum. "Jake, it's not what you think." "Really?" I snapped. "Because it appears very clear to me. I've been paying your mortgage, assisting with groceries, and cleaning up the house while Eric has done nothing. Yet you still believe he's the only one who cares." Dad was embarrassed, but instead of explaining himself, he simply said, "It's complicated." That was it. No apologies. There is no attempt to rationalize it beyond those two worthless words. Just a poor apology and an eager expression. As if he was waiting for me to drop it and return to being their personal ATM. I should have walked out right then. But I wanted to hear it from both of them, so I called out to my mother. When she came in and saw the will in my hands, she didn't respond well. She had the decency to appear guilty, but what she said made my fury boil. "Jake, honey, you don't need the inheritance," she whispered softly, as if she were doing me a favor. "You have a fantastic job and you're independent. Eric, he struggles, we just want to make sure he is taken care of." That was the moment something inside of me shattered. They were not even in denial. They understood exactly what they were doing, and they believed it was entirely right. They had spent years tolerating Eric's sloth, and now they planned to reward it by giving him everything while I was treated as an afterthought. I took a long breath, tightened my jaw, and placed the will on the table. "Got it," I said, my voice strangely calm. "Glad to know where we stand." Then I turned and marched out of the house, disregarding their protests and slamming the door behind me. They had made a decision. Now it was time for me to make mine. I did not return to their place after that. I did not call. I did not check in. For the first time in years, I let them deal with their own dang problems. If they needed to mend something, they could figure it out. If they wanted groceries, they could make their own way to the store. Most significantly, if the mortgage bill arrived, I would no longer be responsible for paying it. The hush lasted almost 2 weeks. At first I guess they thought I was simply pouting and would crawl back like usual. Perhaps they expected me to calm down and apologize for questioning their choice. But as the days passed with no news from me, and more significantly no financial assistance, you could almost sense the change in their mood. Then one afternoon my phone vibrated. Dad texted the property taxes are due. That was it. No hello, how have you been? Yes, sorry for what happened answer. We really appreciate everything you've done. Just a cold transactional message as if I were still a walking ATM that they could access whenever they wanted. I stared at the computer for a time, almost amused by how predictable the results were. They truly believed they could demand money as if nothing had happened. That I would continue to serve as their financial safety net even after they had made it apparent that I was disposable. I replied dryly. I'm sure Eric will handle it since the house is his and all. It took exactly 5 minutes until my mother called. I let it ring. Then another text came in. Mom texted Jake, please don't behave like this. We need to talk. Oh, now they wanted to speak. Now that their debts were stacking up, reality was finally staring them in the face. I waited an hour before responding. There is nothing to talk about, you've made your choice. Now you can live with it. I figured it was the end of the day. I had made my position clear and no part of me felt terrible about it. But then Eric decided to join in. His text arrived late that evening, and the moment I saw his name appear on my phone I knew it was gonna be something nasty. Sure enough, when I opened it I was met with utter entitlement. Eric texted, dude, why are you such a drama queen? It's not a huge deal. Just help them out as you normally do. I almost laughed. Is this not a significant deal? He actually seemed as if I had no right to be upset about this. I responded by typing, no, I think you've got it covered since you're the favorite and all. Eric texted. Oh my god. Are you really furious about the will? Grow up, guy. It's only money. Oh, now it was just money. It didn't matter anymore because it was his inheritance. The hypocrisy was staggering. I responded. So you won't mind spending some of that money to pay for the mortgage, right? Silence. A few minutes later my mother texted me again, this time in full guilt trip mode. Mom texted. Jake, we are your parents. The family takes care of one another. We did so much for you growing up and now you're simply abandoning us. Silence. I had to take a deep breath to keep from tossing my phone across the room, abandoning them. I'd spent years ensuring they never had to suffer while they coddled and praised Eric's laziness. And now that they'd had to face the repercussions of their own actions, I was the bad guy. I was not falling for it. Not this time. I said, you made it clear that I wasn't a member of the family when you left me out of the will. Eric can now care for you. I can imagine my mother gasping loudly. She had a knack for playing the victim even when she was in the wrong. A few minutes later my father sent another text, and this one made me furious. Dad texted. We aren't asking for much, just enough to pay the mortgage for a few more months while we work things out. Do not be selfish. Selfish. The word caused my blood to boil. I'd been bailing them out for years, giving up my own money, time and energy to make their lives easier. I had done all a good son should do. So how did they repay me? I made sure I received nothing in exchange. And now that I've finally stood up for myself, I'm the one being selfish? I tightened my jaw, took a long breath and replied. No. I'm finished. Then I shut off the phone. They'd made their choice. They were now going to have to live with it. The stillness lasted one day. I knew my parents would not give up so quickly, but I wasn't prepared for what happened next. The next morning I received a notification on my phone, a bank transfer request. I grimaced as I unlocked my phone to check. It was from my mother. She had genuinely sent me a request for money as if I were an ATM. What is the amount? $3,500. I looked at it in surprise, partially chuckling at the arrogance. There's no message, there's no explanation. Just a cold, blatant demand for the precise amount required to cover their outstanding mortgage. They didn't even ask anymore. They just assumed I would give in. I declined without hesitation. Not even 5 minutes later my phone rang. It was Mom. I let it ring. Then followed another text. Mom texted, Jake, I understand you saw the request. Why did you decline it? I took my time before responding because it is not my responsibility. Try Eric. Another call declined, then another text. Her message read, we're going to lose the house if you don't help us. Oh, this was an emergency. After years of exploiting me as a walking wallet, they were finally facing the repercussions. I responded, maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I didn't matter. A few seconds later Dad joined in. Dad. Are you really going to let your parents be homeless? That one had me laughing out loud. The manipulation was so obvious it was almost comical. They weren't broke. They were not going to be put on the streets. They simply didn't want to go into their personal savings because they were accustomed to me covering everything. I disregarded them for the remainder of the day. That night I received an SMS from Eric. "Dude, just send the money already. You're exaggerating the severity of the situation." I clenched my jaw. This entitled little punk thought he could lecture me. I responded, "You mean the same money you're inheriting? Why aren't you sending it?" His response came quickly. Eric responded with a message. "You know I don't have that kind of cash right now." Oh, so it was now about cost. He was fine with me draining my accounts, but whenever it was his turn he had nothing to offer. I said, "You'd better figure it out then, bro. You are the one they chose." No response. I went to bed feeling strangely relaxed, as if I had finally broken free from years of manipulation. However, the situation worsened the following day. I was at work when I received a call from my apartment's front desk. "Hey Jake, your parents are here." I almost dropped my phone. "What?" She hesitated before adding, "They're saying it's an emergency. And that you won't answer their calls." Oh my God. They showed up in my flat simply because I stopped paying their bills. I took a deep breath and pinched the bridge of my nose. "Please do not give them up. I am not expecting them." There was an awkward moment. They're being kind of pushy." I clenched my jaw. "I do not care, they can leave." I hung up and instantly received a text from Mom. "We're downstairs. Open the door." No query, no explanation, just another demand. I didn't respond. Mom sent another text. "Jake, we're not leaving until you talk to us." I breathed sharply and stood up from my desk. They were not about to back down. Fine. I was about to teach them a lesson they would never forget. I snatched my keys and stormed downstairs, my blood seething. I was not scared. I was infuriated. The audacity of these guys to show up at my house uninvited and demand money as if I were their personal ATM. Not even a phone call beforehand. Not even a half-hearted apologies. Just a straight-up ambush. They assumed they could easily corner me into submission as if I were a naive child. I threw open the door and there they were. Mom, Dad, and of course Eric. Everyone stood in a tight, compact formation as if they were preparing to stage a family intervention. Mom's arms were crossed, her characteristic disappointed mother expression locked and loaded. Dad stood rigid, hands in his pockets, his expression a mix of annoyance and entitlement, as if he couldn't believe I was forcing him to do this in person. And Eric, the little leech, had the gall to appear bored, as if the whole thing was only somewhat inconvenient for him. As if he was not the cause of any of this. When Mom saw me, she went into full theatrical. "Jake, finally, we need to talk." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Number, you need to leave." She blinked as if she was unable to absorb what I had just said. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." My voice was calm, controlled and firm. "You can't just show up at my residence and demand money. That is insane." Dad gave a quick scoff. "Are you really going to let us lose the house over a minor disagreement?" I gave out a frigid laugh. "A petty grudge? Oh, you mean the one where you judged I was good enough to pay your bills but not worthy of inclusion in your will? Is that a grudge?" Mom gasped and clutched her chest as if I had just hit her. "Jake, that is not fair. We merely did what we believed was best for the family." I tilted my head. "Best for the family? You mean the best for Eric? Simply say it." Silence. A prolonged, heavy silence. Eric, who had been unusually silent until now, finally spoke up. "Look man, I don't want to get involved in this. I did not ask for anything." I turned to him, finally letting go. "No, you simply sit back and accept all that is given to you. You are 28 years old, Eric. Get a damn job." His face grew crimson. "What the hell, dude?" I stepped closer. "You've heard me. Do you want to inherit the house? Begin acting like a homeowner. Do you want to be the golden child? Begin paying their damn bills. I'm done being your personal banker." Eric averted his gaze, his attention drawn to the sidewalk. Mom took a deep breath and refocused her guilt trip. "Jake, he's your brother." I nodded. "Yep. And I've been there for him longer than you have." Dad's face clouded. "You're being selfish." I laughed. A genuine laugh. "Oh, that's wealthy. Coming from you." I gestured between them. "You two agreed that Eric deserved everything while I deserved nothing. And now when it's time to pay the price for your decision, you're attempting to coerce me into repairing it for you. Not happening." Mom's voice became sharper. "We thought you'd be mature about this." I raised an eyebrow. Mature? You mean I should simply accept that I was betrayed and continue to pay your bills? Because let's be honest, that's what you wanted. Dad stepped nearer, attempting to loom over me as he had when I was a child. We reared you, Jake, we fed you, you have been clothed, we gave you everything, the least you could do is aid us right now. I looked him dead in the eyes. I already have. For years. You repaid me by cutting me out. Mom's lips twitched. We thought you'd understand. I exhaled and shook my head. Oh, I understand completely. I understand that I was never your family but rather a paycheck. Once again there is silence. An oppressive and unmistakable silence. I turned to see Eric, who was still trying to be invisible. And you? What is your excuse? You had plenty of time to mature, organize your life and contribute. But you didn't. You knew they'd take care of you. And when they're gone you just expect me to step in, right? Eric eventually snapped. What would you like me to say, man? I did not ask for this. I nodded slowly. Right, you did not ask. You just benefited. His mouth opened and then closed. Nothing. He had nothing. Mom tried one final guilt trip. Jake, we are family. Family takes care of one another. I stared at her for a long time before responding. Exactly. So why didn't you care for me? She froze. No words, no comeback, nothing. I exhaled slowly, feeling lighter than I had in years. We're done here. I turned and walked back inside, shutting the door behind me. Before I could return to my couch, my phone buzzed. A new text from Dad. Wow. After everything we've done for you, are you really going to leave us? I smirked while typing back. No, you abandoned me. I'm just now accepting it. I pressed send. Then I blocked their numbers. But I had no idea that blocking them would simply make matters worse. Things quickly spiraled out of control. Less than a day after blocking them, I began receiving posts on Facebook. My parents were never very tech-savvy, but they knew how to voice their problems online, especially when they felt self-righteous. At first I assumed it was simply my folks being dramatic. I mean, that was their go-to move, broadcasting family dysfunction for all to see. But as I browsed through their pages, I realized it wasn't just about me not assisting with finances anymore. The posts were camouflaged as family affection, but they were carefully veiled attacks on me. Mom had said that she didn't raise her son to be so selfish and that true family helps each other no matter what. A handful of her acquaintances said I was a letdown and out of touch with what actually mattered. Then Dad responded with his own post. So-called family members should never abandon you when you need them the most. We sacrificed everything to our children and this is how we were rewarded. My son, who should be aiding us in our golden years, has decided to desert us. He tagged me and added the passive-aggressive "I hope you're happy" at the end. The real kicker, however, came from Eric. I should have known he'd join in on the drama. He shared a post full of inaccuracies. Some individuals believe that family is all about money. They do not realize that family is about love and sacrifice. I would do anything for my parents, but some individuals don't understand that. They're too caught up in themselves to know that true love is aiding those who reared you. He even made a disguised shot at me. I wish some people could understand what it truly means to be family. I love my parents and appreciate everything they've done for me. That was it. That was my breaking point. I sat there staring at the TV in bewilderment. How had things come to this point? They turned the entire situation around. I was made the villain, the selfish son who refused to support his sacrificed parents. The son who didn't appreciate all the affection parents showed me throughout the years. How could they? I'd always been the person who worked hard, the person who donated, the person who has never complained. I had to accept that they had somehow convinced themselves that they were correct. And now they were informing everyone that I was the problem. I didn't want to react immediately. I took a step back, collected my thoughts and waited several hours. I wanted to be sure I wasn't just jumping into something out of rage. But when I thought about it, I decided I couldn't let them get away with it. If they were going to drag my name through the mud, I was going to correct the record. So I grabbed out my phone and began typing. I created my own Facebook account, which I kept for close friends and true family, and wrote a lengthy update. I was not interested in playing their game. I did not want to get mired down in petty back and forths. I wanted to tell the truth. This is what I wrote. I know I've been silent for the past several days, but I can't keep it up any longer. My relatives have been spreading false information about me online. They've painted me as the villain. The selfish person who refuses to assist my parents in their time of need. I'm here to set the record straight. I've always assisted my family. I've been helping with bills, paying for groceries and supporting them in any way I can since I was able to find work. However, there comes a moment when you can no longer give without being respected. Over the years I've seen my parents favor Eric, giving him everything: the house, the money and the attention. Meanwhile I was expected to continue providing without ever being treated as equal. Some of you may be reading this and thinking, well, that's just how family works. But here's the truth: family should be a mutual relationship. When I learned that my parents had left everything to Eric in their will, I recognized how one-sided our relationship had been. They did not give me a second thought. They've made it apparent that I'm only the one they can rely on when things go tough, not the one they truly want around unless it's convenient for them. For years I've been responsible for paying for their lifestyle. I've paid for vacations, bills and even assisted with things like house taxes. And for what to be viewed as a backup plan? I am done. I am not merely a wallet from which they may withdraw money whenever they need it. I am a human being. And I deserve to be respected. I've earned the right to be treated like I'm important, not just when they need something from me. Eric needs to mature. He's 28 years old and has never worked in his life. He has never taken responsibility for anything. My parents have been enabling him for so long that it's no surprise he's their favorite. But here's the thing. He's had plenty of time to sort his life out. Now it's time for him to stand on his own 2 feet. Everyone who has been following this drama and supporting my parents should understand that every tale has 2 sides. Indeed, family is vital. However, it's also about mutual respect. I've contributed enough for a lifetime and I won't apologize for taking a step back. This is not me turning away from my family. This is my last decision to choose myself. And to my parents, I wish you the best, but I'm done being your doormat. I hit post and instantly felt relieved. For the first time in my life I told the world the truth about my family. Regarding how they had taken advantage of me for years. About how they had always expected me to be the one to save them without ever considering my own needs. I wasn't going to let their story dominate my life anymore. The reactions were swift. Some people I hadn't spoken with in years came forward to show their support. A number of my cousins, acquaintances of my parents and even some distant relatives liked the article and sent me private messages apologizing for what I had gone through. It was so liberating to finally get the truth out there. Not be buried by guilt trips and manipulative behavior. Then followed the backlash. My parents and Eric went crazy. Eric texted me. "You are a traitor. You really have to air all of our business like this? You have no regard for family." Dad contacted me and yelled over the phone. "You've ruined everything, Jake. You're going to regret this. You will regret shutting us off. You will regret abandoning your own family." But I did not regret it. Not for 1 second. I blocked them all. I was finished. For the first time in my life I was free. Free of the toxic grasp they held on me for so long. As the days passed I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had had enough of being treated as less than. I was tired of always having to solve everyone else's problems, and now I finally had the freedom to live my life on my own terms. So no, I don't feel horrible about cutting them off. I deserved better, I still do, and from now on I intend to surround myself with people who value me for who I am, not what I can give them. It is time for me to move forward for good, and I will. Thank you for watching. For more videos like this, remember to like and subscribe. Also remember to let us know your thoughts below in the comments.